And now we're going to do something a little different. We're going to take a look and talk about the Springfield Model 03A3 rifle. U.S. military rifle that this basically the 03A3 design came up during World War II. As the U.S. Army adopted the M1 Garand, several companies, or two companies actually, was Remington Arms and Smith Corona, continued to produce the bolt-action rifles throughout the war. And as they took tooling, Remington took the tooling from one of the government arsenals that was in storage since 1919, and it was worn out. So what they did is they tried to produce it. They made several changes to the Springfield 1903 rifle. One was the sights and some other different features, stampings instead of milling. So we'll take a look at this and I'll go over all of it with you. Okay, first off, what we have here, we look up here on the receiver. This is a Smith Corona. Okay, with serial number in that. And then on all the Springfields, you go down here to the barrel, and usually there's a date on the barrel. Try to get it here. Ordnance stamp and a date. It's 10/43. Okay, is when this was made. Front sight was changed a little here. The stock was different because those of you that know the 03 Springfield 03 had a rear sight here, so the stock would be different. And what they did during World War II is they decided to put this rear sight on here, which is kind of very similar to this peep sight. It's, if you looked at an M1 carbine sight, it's kind of like this. You slide up the elevation and you got a windage knob here, and it is a peep sight. Now they also had a hood, sheet metal hood, that would go on the front sight. This one doesn't have it. So they changed the stock. Okay, had to be changed to be adopted to this newer style. They had to change the handguard because there's a sheet metal ring around the receiver that locks the handguard in. And we'll get this down and look at some other things. Here, let me try to flip it. Okay, there we go. Also, stampings. This is all stamped out of sheet metal. The swivel, the stacking, swivel up here, the bayonet lug, and the forward barrel band is all stamping. All of this is stamped out of sheet metal. Okay. Also, your trigger guard mag housing has been simplified and stamped out of sheet metal. The floor plate is no longer milled, stamped out of sheet metal. Okay. Rear swing swivel has this bent around there. And we have a butt plate, you can't see it, with a trap door for a cleaning rod. So, your 03A3 Wartime Production, and these guns were issued and used. They were issued to the Navy, the Coast Guard, you know, they'd be stateside to free up Garands, but they were issued and used side by side with the M1 Garand during World War II. Not so much in Korea, but the A4, which is the sniper version, was used up until Vietnam. So let's look at some of the, and this one's minty. This one was sold surplus after the war. You got stock stamps there, the P. You have several inspection stamps here on there. This is a nice example. I forget what they told me in the 50s when they used to sell these. They cost like, try to get into the light here, check out the stuff on the barrel. I believe that's an F stamped there, right in there, front sight. Let me see if I can get the, try to focus in on that barrel date. Swap. Try to look at our other, got your stamp there, and the ordnance stamp didn't quite survive or wasn't stamped well. Magazine cutoff safety. So this is about a mint unissued version as you can get. I've had this for quite a few years. And also they will tell you that at this time this should have a 2-groove barrel. It doesn't. This does have a 4-groove barrel in it. And these guns were manufactured by Smith Corona up in Syracuse, New York, by my home. It's one of the reasons why I kind of kept this one. I had several Remingtons. Here's a good look at the butt plate. And several different of these rifles over the years. They were quite common, you know, back when I was a teenager. And also the 03A3 is a gun that I used, I guess you could say, in my military career. In NJROTC, we had a supply of these welded up as drill rifles. The only exception is they had fiberglass stocks. And I've carried one of these as a cadet and drilled on color guards, on the drill team, and everything else for hours. So this is a weapon that I used, not so much shooting it, but I've lugged one of these around for many, many, many hours to where I was an expert at it. So now let's take a look at how it functions and operates. Okay, so when you look at a Springfield 30-06, you go, hey man, this is an awful lot like a Mauser rifle. Well, after the Spanish-American War, the U.S. captured a lot of the Mauser-built rifles the Spaniards were using, and they incorporated and designed a rifle which basically is just a copy of the Mauser. If you notice the safety and everything. So the gun works, turn down bolt, come up, and got a magazine lock. Of course, that's a stamped follower. So 5-shot mag. You can load it with stripper clips. I used to have some. You used to be able to find the ammo on the stripper clips, little 5-rounders jammed down in there. And standard bolt action. Now, cocking piece, okay? It's a U.S. design, not quite like the Mauser, and you can grasp that if you have to. It's a throwback from the old days to where you had a dud. You can easily recock the gun to get your second hit without having to open it up, or in case of a hang fire. That's one thing about the design of this gun that's nice. And we have Mauser flag style safety. Stands up. You cannot, let me see, does it? Yep. It blocks the peep sight. Should be like your combat safety. Plus you can operate the bolt with the safety up, standing up, and unload the gun. Push it all the way to the right, like on any Mauser, and it locks. It's on safe, and it locks the bolt. So, they took Mauser safety, which they ended up having to pay them money for this. Now, the one thing that's unusual about the U.S. guns is on this side, they still retained the magazine cutoff, which is here. You see it says, no, is that on? You see what the hell, it's been so long. Oh, okay. On. Okay, when it's on, that means that the magazine will function with the stop and everything else. It's just like a normal bolt action rifle. So that means the magazine is on. You flip this down to where it says off. That means the magazine has been cut off. And now the rifle is basically the old archaic single shot. You'd fire it in single shot with your 5 rounds in reserve and then flip it up, magazine cut off. Okay? This was on the U. Why they retained it, who the hell knows? But it was on there. And probably out of all the military rifles, it was one of the last ones that retained a magazine cutoff switch. Now, if you take the switch and flip it up to this position in the middle, like that, that is how you remove the bolt. Okay? And if you look at this, it's a standard Mauser type action with an ejector. Let me set this down. It even looks like a Mauser bolt. Okay. Nice rifle, rugged rifle, easy to use, simple. Simpler something is, the less there can go wrong with it. That's my way of looking at it. And like I said, yeah, now it's working. Okay, so then also remember, once you put the bolt back in, put your switch back to where it belongs, on either on or off. Like I said, the rear sight is very similar, and they changed this so it's the sight picture is the same as the M1 Garand, M1 carbine. So once you train the man on one rifle, the sights are very similar in control to, this is more like the carbine. You would slide your elevation up and you would turn the knob. The Garand has a second knob that the elevation is ratcheted up. So this is more like an M1 carbine sight. But the idea is train the man on the one gun, he knows them all. And with the 4-groove barrel, I don't know, I just got it, it's unusual. I know from the date of 1043 that they should have been putting a 2-groove barrel in here, but they may have had some extras or something, I don't know. This is a weird gun. But this is a Smith Corona, the finish. This parkerizing almost looks like bluing, but it is a phosphate parkerizing. It should have that greenish color to it, but it doesn't. There's your butt plate, your little trap door. See if my thumbnail's strong enough to open. We ain't got to open it. No, we ain't going to open it, but it's empty anyway. But they changed the stock shape with the A3. And we'll look at the front sight. These things did have a sheet metal hood, so that would work perfect with the rear sight for a sight picture. Took the standard bayonet that went on the Springfields, which I believe the M1 Garand, all of them use a similar bayonet. So you can use the earlier long ones or the short ones or the Garand style, I believe, on these. Like I said, this is a classic military firearm. Really like it. I thought I'd give you guys something a little bit different out of my collection here. And like I said, I spent a lot of hours flipping this around. Balance on this gun is perfect. I used to know the complete manual of arms with this gun. I was on the drill team for a couple years and a lot of color guards with it. So I carried one of these things, you know, it was all welded shut. Never fired it, but I carried one of these for quite a few years and used them in a ceremonial purpose, what it was. So let's wrap up the video. Well, alright guys, there you go. Springfield 30-06 03A3. Let me see if I can get a twirl for you. A little hard. The left hand of mine ain't that good anymore. I used to be able to do that. I used to be able to do the Queen Anne salute and catch this thing and jump it around. But the balance point, once you understand where the balance point is on this rifle, you could very easily handle it. That's the one beautiful thing about it. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed the video.